Hey everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. We're looking at Allen's 180 Classic here. And this is kind of interesting because Homelite, we all have seen the redesigned Super 2s, XLs, 180s from the early 90s, where it was the big squared off top handle and it was loose at the back here. It's kind of an anti-vibe. Well, this is much later. This is an R, so what does that make it, a 97? For a little bit, until, well, basically until Homelite was sold by John Deere, they went back to this earlier style body. Few minor changes. It's a WA or WT carburetor on here, so they had to redesign the throttle linkage and move the idle screw pretty far back under here. And of course the rocker style switch, I call it the Mr. Coffee switch because that's what the old Mr. Coffee Pots switch looked like. Anyway, yeah, kind of unique. I like this style better personally. So Alan sent me this one, and he indicated the cylinder had filled with oil. Other than that, it was a good runner. Well, I've taken it apart, cleaned it up, and I can't say I definitively found why it would fill with oil, but I have a suspicion, well, about the only way that it could. These late models use a T-shaped piece, and I'll be damned if I know. There, I think you guys can see that. I don't want to pull it loose. You can see how the duckbill is on one end, and the other end has nothing on it. Well, you see how that port has that kind of blue insert. Most of them are orange. This one's blue, doesn't matter. There's a very small hole there. That fitting takes the place of the old brass sintered tube. And that hole is there to allow pressure to bleed back into the engine while the saw is off. Now, when I got into it, that opening was pointed straight down. If the saw was stored with a full tank of oil to where that fitting was under, in the oil, that would be enough. On a hot day, the tank would pressurize and it would start pushing oil back through. This has got the port on the carburetor here. Would have gone down through that intake manifold and right into the engine. So I'm going to theorize that that's what happened. The old hose was... It appeared to be intact, but I can't say for 100% that there wasn't a small crack in it where it also could have gone in. So that's what I'm going with. I test fired this saw about 2 hours ago. It's been sitting on the bench untouched ever since. So let's see what she does right now. Okay, what I was pointing to was the oil port. There were little bubbles coming out right here as it finishes pumping the air out of the new hoses. I don't necessarily want to make a giant mess all over my bench. I know the tank is pressurizing and therefore it will oil. So I'll let this thing sit for a couple days. I really think that's what it was. I think it was the position of that fitting had slipped down and the old hose was, kind of worn, baked enough, whatever you want to call it, to allow it to do that. We've seen on the Super Easies, especially, that gas or oil cap that has the duckbill valve in it. When that duckbill goes bad, even when the oil is at the bottom of the tank, somehow those things find a way to percolate the oil up and out that vent on the cap itself. I mean, it's counterintuitive. You wouldn't think it was possible, but I'm here to tell you I know for 100% certain fact that it is possible and does happen all the time. So we'll say it's the same thing. So Alan, I'll let it sit a couple days, give it another fire, and it'll be heading your way.